I am the loving awareness who watches the one who walks the path. So last week I attended a silent, it wasn't a silent, it was a meditation retreat out in Langley. And I want to talk about it and express myself and tell you what I learned and share. So it's been a long time, but the calling to understand myself better, to understand the world better, to understand others better is increasing. It's growing, and the need for deeper levels of contemplation is necessary for that. And so a teacher that I admire and I respect was hosting an Enlightenment Intensive, it's called, or an Illumination Intensive. And it's a direct inquiry on the nature of self, of who we are, who I am. More importantly, who am I? And he hasn't done this workshop in over 10 years, and he has just resumed doing these intensives, which is something that he used to do many years ago throughout his career. His name is Satyan Raja, and I just had to go. So I took the time and attended the retreat, and I just wanted to talk about it. So yeah, this is a very specific technique, and it's actually a meditation. So it's a meditation retreat, but it's actually done in pairs. It's a dyad process. So you're working with a group, and you're working with one by one with different members in the group in a process called dyad, which is not a conversation. So I'll kind of explain what the technique and process was. But a dyad is basically two people working together. One is the listening partner, and one is the communicating, expressing partner, or the speaking partner. And you're basically alternating back and forth, going between contemplation of a specific question or a pair of questions. So for us in this retreat, it was a full week long of just the one question: tell me who you are. So I'm going to actually read out the technique that we were using for this meditation. So like I said, there's the listening partner, who's the one who asks the instruction. And their job, the listening partner's job, is to pose the question and then remain fully present and directed in attention on the speaking partner while they contemplate. And their job is then, once the speaking partner has done the contemplation and ready to express what has come up or what has arisen, they will do so, and the listening partner's job is to understand the communication, understand what is being expressed, and put the presence on the other individual and receive it fully, and then thank them for that share. And I explain the importance of that, but there's a clearing that happens when we're witnessed in our expression. And that clearing is valuable to the whole process of mind clearing, so that something new can arise. And I'll go a little bit more deep into that after. But that's the listening partner's role. The speaking partner takes in the instruction and then goes into the contemplation. So I'm going to read out exactly how this instruction works. But as the speaking partner, my job in this meditation is to receive the instruction, then to get a sense of myself. So if this question is tell me who you are, I would receive that instruction, put my attention on myself, whatever that means, and then my intention is to directly experience it, directly experience myself, if that's what I'm contemplating, and then open myself and be completely open to whatever arises as a result of that contemplation. And then once I have that clarity and there's something that arises, my job is to communicate it directly back to my listening partner and try and be understood, or just with the intent to be understood in that communication. Once that's done, that's basically one process, and then you'd switch back and forth over and over, and now I would become the listening partner and give the instruction, tell me who you are, to the other person. And this goes on for 40-minute increments, generally. We didn't actually have access to time in the meditation for the whole week. But I think they were 40 minutes. They're typically 40 minutes, I think. And there'd be probably I think 6 to 8 of these a day. And then in between the dyads, which are quite exhausting to put your presence with somebody for such a long period, there'd be walking meditation, eating meditation, or walking contemplation is how they put it, eating contemplation, and sleeping contemplation. And that's pretty much all that was going on. During the retreat, there's no reading, no writing, no journaling, that kind of stuff, no speaking with other people, kind of limiting eye contact even, and just really throughout your whole day, every day, just who am I, and letting the layers unfold. And everyone is at a different place, so the clearings take different amounts of time. And the intention with all of this is to have a direct experience of the truth, direct experience of the truth of who I am. That was my intention, and that's the intention for the participants, and that's what the master coaches are intending for us as well, is to have a direct experience of enlightenment, of the state of enlightenment, which I did have, and is profound. So I'm going to get into that a little bit too. What I want to share are some of my takeaways. So that was kind of the technique we used, and in this video I just want to share some of the takeaways that are very profound for me, and they're actually quite life-changing. There's been a shift. I feel a shift within myself, which I'm so grateful for, that I really wanted to share this and be seen in this, the shift that's taken place. So number one would be the emphasis on having a community and teachers who you admire, and people who have something that you would like to embody more of. In this case, I was drawn there by Satyan, who I admire his purpose, his mission, and what he wishes to share, and how he wishes to share it to the world. And his determination, I think, just his whole company, Warrior Sage, their desire for themselves and for others to wake up to deeper levels of love and truth and wisdom has pulled me in, and it aligned perfectly with what I'm looking for. And so immersing myself in that community makes all the difference. No more than if you want to be a professional anything, you need to be around other like-minded people who are on that same pursuit, who are going to help you reach that pinnacle. And that's one of the big insights, is like to really engulf in a community that is going in the same direction as you. It doesn't mean being closed off to other people's directions, but as I've gotten to understand myself better over the years, it's become very clear the type of expression and the types of people who wake things up in me, who really shake me up into deeper levels of purpose within myself. Another kind of really deep insight is, especially with meditation, to have a technique. This is not, I think that I've generally kind of generalized meditation for a lot of my life, and it's become evident that there's just so many techniques that you can practice. And in this particular case, this technique that was shared with us is intended for people to have a direct experience of themselves, or another way of saying a direct experience of an enlightened experience. It's basically a state. You're trying to wake up to a different state that's available within you. If you practice, if you have the correct technique, it goes a long way. And having this community, the Warrior Sage community, sharing this technique and really believing in the technique installs the belief in me. And one technique for meditation for a whole week is, I've never done anything like that in my life. And it was really difficult. You can probably imagine, just for 5 days straight, someone just telling me who you are over and over and over. Tell me who you are. And all the layers and depth to this in this specific formatted technique, eventually something clicks. And for me, it did. And the way I kind of, when I feel into that now, I'm going to explain kind of how the process went for me. But it's kind of a mind-clearing thing. It's like there's all this clutter that surrounds this identity structure, this idea of who we think we are, and who I have thought that I am, and how I identify with life, and how I identify with others, and how I identify with the world, and all the projections that surround all that. having the opportunity to express it to someone else whose only purpose is to put their presence on me and understand my communication helps to clear away the noise. And through the layers of that clearing, for me, what happened within the first day, there was a full emptying. After I had fully expressed all of the different layers of my identity, I suppose, and who I think I am, the thought structures, eventually the mind cleared. And that was probably within the first 24 hours, I'd say. And for the next probably 3 days, I pretty much found myself resting in a state of emptiness. It's almost like a bliss. It's like my whole body cleared out, and it was just, I'd close my eyes and the whole vessel just seemed completely empty. Like it's like I couldn't feel my organs. It just felt like there was nothing inside, which was a very strange way to feel. Like it just felt like an empty container of, I mean, in a good way though, not like a darkness, but like an empty container of like anything is possible from this place. And then there'd be flashes of light, and it just also became very clear that there's this entity, this body is full of light. So when I'd be communicating, the whole contemplation, tell me who you are, most of my expression back in my contemplation would lead me to like, I am the emptiness, or I am the light. And I had all these beautiful ways of expressing that back and forth, back to the listening partner. And that was pretty much for the next 3 days, I was identifying with the light and the darkness. And that was a very beautiful experience, and honestly a very peaceful experience, because I just felt so spacious, and the light is beautiful. It's kind of like when you're closing your eyes and looking up at the sun. It's just full of light, and it's beautiful, and it just feels so full and whole. And that was kind of the feeling I was lingering in and just resting in for days. So what was really powerful for me too is when the trainers or the master coaches would come up every at lunchtime. They were the only people you actually were supposed to really talk to, and they'd kind of say, how's your contemplation going? How are you doing with the technique? And at one point I said to one of the trainers, I explained that I was having this great experience and I was full of light and lightness and emptiness. My breath was so full and whole, and I just felt more peaceful than I've ever actually felt in my life, because I haven't typically been a very still person in my life. So just reaching new levels of calmness was really valuable for me. And I explained all that, and she looked at me and she said, that's all really beautiful. That's all really good. But that's not actually why you're here. You're not here for just bliss and peacefulness. You're here to find out who you really are. And when I let that land, because I felt like at the time I was kind of in a place where it's like, if I just go home right now and I just feel super peaceful, like that would be enough. And like this retreat was a big success. But her saying that to me and just holding the standard of like, enlightenment is in your reach, a direct experience of truth, of the truth with that you are, is available directly experientially today or tomorrow or in the next contemplation. It could happen at any moment. Don't give up on the technique. Keep going. And that standard of just someone saying like, this isn't why you're really here. You're here to find out the truth of who you are. That, I think, pivoted me again to go deeper, I guess. It's just to inquire deeper. So now I want to explain what happened. So once all the noise, the identity structure stuff dissipated in the first day, then I felt this emptiness and this light, and I was basically attached. Like, who am I? And I was identifying with the yin and the yang, the light and the dark, in various forms, and just speaking beauty in that way. But then at one point, all of a sudden, I had an image of myself, like me, like in this body, in this form, and I was looking down at him. And this was just very brief, but it's like I was aware of him. And the question kind of popped in, I wonder if he knows how loved he is. Like, I wonder if he knows that he's loved. And I was rushing around doing a bunch of stuff that I would normally be doing in life. And it just dawned on me that, like, I don't know if he realizes that spirit and God, or that he was created for a purpose, and like his nature is love. And at that moment, my awareness stepped back. It's like my awareness stepped back a level, and it just felt like I just became this awareness, and the awareness was looking down at life. It was looking not even down; it was just looking at life, like a lens just of awareness. And at that moment, it was just a flood of love. Like, the only purpose of the awareness is to love it, like to love it was almost like a substrate, an awareness that's just fabricated out of love. And the emotion that followed was just an absolute overflow of compassion and love. And I broke down at that time. I just completely broke down, realizing the nature of what I am, and what I'm really, who I really am. When you step back from the ego structure, and when you step back from even the soul, behind that there's this awareness that has been unchanging since the moment I was born. It's the same. I've been aware the whole time, and I'm aware right now, staring at this camera, and I'm going to be aware still in 10 years from now. And there's all this other form that seems to be changing, but that's not the truth of who I am. I am the underlying awareness behind it all. And I feel like I've known that in concept for a long time, but the experience, the direct experience of that truth, I hadn't really experienced, and that seems to be what I'm going to be calling is the first layer of enlightenment. It's like one of the first stages is to really step back into the loving awareness that is witnessing this whole playing field. And it's an unchanging kind of thing. It's this unchanging, formless awareness that doesn't really have any particular locus. It's just no centralization to it. It can't be pinpointed. It can't be identified. It can't be attached to. It's just nowhere and everywhere. It's very difficult to explain it. But when I stepped into that place, like, it was just love. And I feel like I've been there before, but I didn't know I didn't understand how I had arrived there. Because most of the times I've ever been there, or all of them, have been through plant medicines. I've never arrived there through my own will. So that's a powerful lesson too, is the knowingness that I have the ability to access these places without the assistance of plant medicines or whatever. And one of the big insights is that I need to practice. If I want to hold these states, because the enlightenment is it's the truth, but it's a state. It's a specific state that is accessible within everything and everyone. And I would like to cultivate more discipline and practice this contemplation and find out more, so that I can live this truth more fully in my life, in my moment-to-moment experience. Yeah. I think the last thing I want to share is I learned about the importance of being seen in life. The whole meditation done in partnership, in various partnerships, was explained, but just when we're seen by other people fully, and people are present with us and they understand us, and they take the time to understand us, there's a clearing, there's the expression that is occurring. Like, even making this video, it creates us. It's part of the purpose. Things were born to be, things in the dual world, the world that most of us identify with, were born to be seen. And, in our group, in our container, just watching everyone express at the end how valuable it was to be seen by others, and how heart opening that was, and how much love was able to come in by just being witnessed. And that's something that I think I have tremendously undervalued in my own experience. I'm a very expressive person. Anyone who knows me well knows that I like to express myself. I'm very comfortable expressing myself, but I've never really emphasized or realized the importance of being seen in my expression. Which is why I'm making this video right now, is that something profound happened and it was important to me. And I want to put it out there so that I can be seen in my waking up, in my realizations, in my growth, in whatever you want to call it. I'm part of this soul path is to be seen. And it was fascinating to look at the group and realize how many people hide from being seen in life, like trying not to be seen, and how it stints the growth, it stints the purpose, it interferes with the purpose of all these things. It's almost like, imagine a flower that suffered from what most humans suffer from. Didn't want to be seen, and spring came, and then the flower just didn't want to come out and be seen. But when that flower comes out and is seen, it affects the consciousness of the one witnessing it. It works in tandem. It takes both the witnessing partner and the expressing partner to create it, to create the life, the experience of life. And that's something I really want to open deeper into when I'm with people and when I'm being present with others, is to really see them in their expression. Not to judge it or necessarily even to agree with everything that people say, but to be able to listen and understand what someone else or another is saying. And just witness them in where they are in their journey. That's valuable. It's important. That's what this is all about. Is there's an expression or a creation that's happening, and then there's also an unchanging substrate of love that's also happening. And we all have access to all of them: the egoic self, the soul path, and the unchanging self behind all of it. So there's so many analogies I could come up with, but yeah, that was that's some of the takeaways I had from my meditation retreat. So if any of that is helpful, that's good. That's a good thing. Thank you.